Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show right here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. Bob, y'all fired up and ready for tomorrow night?
I'm ready.
You ready? Huh?
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
I believe in Kirby.
You believe in Kirby?
Yeah.
All right.
If they throw one more swing pass out there, I'm going to shoot Bobo. I'll go to the press box, just shoot him. So, he's got to go.
Those were Bob comments. Do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, or advertisers of Jesup Broadcasting. It's just Bob.
Just reflects the opinion of most Georgia fans. All right,
but it still doesn't reflect the station's official position.
But Georgia fans are irate. I mean, come on, Bobo. Can you stop throwing that swing pass? I mean,
well, sooner or later, it's got to work. He works one time, and you say, "Yeah, it worked then."
Whatever.
Oh boy! And what is it? We're tell back you. Why are we 15 in the SEC in rushing?
Line. I mean, offensive line couldn't protect him last. That's the issue. The offensive line is a big issue right now. So
well, they got 4- and 5-star athletes up there weighing 320 pounds. Offensive linemen that Coach Moore in here would just drool over, right, Coach?
I guarantee you. It's crazy.
All right, we do have the coach in here. Introduce our guest.
Our special guest is our head football coach, John Moore. And first of all, Coach, thanks for coming in. As I told you on our last Coach's Show interview, which airs every Friday for the game, that I enjoyed our conversations. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Sit down and do the 30-minute interview. As I told you, I get a lot of feedback from the fans saying they enjoy listening and getting your thoughts on your insights of the game. So, again, thanks for being here, and thanks again for taking time out of being on the Coach's Show all week.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and happy to air out some of these things that need to get fixed for the upcoming season. We've already cranked it up, and I'm excited to get started.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the fact or fiction, because, you know, the rumor of Wayne County's already started after the 0-10 season. So let's keep it simple. Will you or won't you be Wayne County's head football coach in 2025?
I will be Wayne County's head football coach this next season.
So all those rumors about you not going to be here.
Yeah, we can put those.
You can't believe social media?
Yeah, the rumor mill.
Can you
social
believe
media,
that?
Yeah. Not sure what all was said, but I'm going to be here next year.
And that's great. That's great.
In 10 games this season, 8 of the 10 teams we played in the state playoffs, Richmond Hill just missed out due to tiebreakers, so the schedule was brutal. This region is a football-dominated region. Again, you look at Ware and Perry and Warner Robins, BC, they've all won state championships. Pierce County's won a state title. So, again, we're stuck in this region for one more season. But the question people keep asking me, and I'll ask you, we can't do anything about the region schedule. Is there any way we can do something about the non-region schedule? I'm sure you want to keep Pierce and Appin on there due to the gate, but say Brunswick, Glen, Richmond Hill, is there any way to call them up, get out of that contract for 2 years and say we're going to play somebody else? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could definitely try. You know, I'm close with Coach Lazai. I'm close with the other coaches, you know, and I think we could talk to them and just see, like, look, we're kind of in the rebuild phase. You know, let's maybe schedule this for down the road when we get things rolling. But unfortunately, it is a 2-year contract, so if they do want to stay with it, I think we're kind of binded to that.
And like I said, we got a lot of people out there listening really don't know or remember how you got here. You know, you got here late, how GHSA had already relined the region. You didn't have any say in that. So, again, just for those that may not know who Coach John Moore is, how you got here, just kind of recap that. Because we got people out there listening that have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that was part of it. You know, like I got here, I think I accepted the job March 26th. And then, you know, obviously I had to give Country Day a couple weeks notice, and then we went on spring break. So, I mean, really I didn't get cranked up to about mid-April. So when you think about that, I mean, we're already 6 months ahead of time right now. And, you know, that was my talk with administration, and like, how am I going to get this fixed is, you know, most coaches are hired by that time, you know, so I was really trying to, you know, scrape the bottom of the barrel to put a staff together that I thought were good character men that would be a good fit here at Wayne County. And I think I did that, but, you know, when you don't get to hire any of your guys or people that you've coached with, it's like starting all over. So, you know, getting those guys here, and some of our coaches didn't get here till June or July because of moving and contracts and things like that. So, you know, I know we talked about it in the spring about like trying to drink through a fire hose. It kind of felt like that, you know, and trying to pick up, you know, obviously these kids have had 3 head coaches in 4 years, and getting them to buy into a whole new system, getting them to buy a whole new coach, whole new rules. There's going to be some bounce back from that. And, we saw it early. We struggled. We had seniors quit, walk off the field. We had discipline issues. And, that was my whole thing is like, I'm trying to set the culture here because my plan was long term, and I want to, I can't let those things slide in year one because then I'll continue to build throughout years 2 and 3. So, I kind of had to draw that hard line in the sand. And it hurt because you lose good players and you never want to give up on kids. But, at some point you just got to do what's best for the program. And, we did those things and yes, we struggled, but I think our young guys that got playing time out of that this year, are really going to benefit from that in the long run. And that's one thing, this week, the season ended November 1st versus where we were back at it Monday morning in the weight room. Like most people give them to Christmas or just after New Year's. I was like, guys, we're 0-10. We don't have time to take off. We need to fix this thing now. So, our seniors have left our weightlifting class in the morning. Now we're having juniors and sophomores lead our lifting groups and trying to work on their leadership skills. It has been absolutely night and day the last 2 weeks, and that's not a slight at the seniors. It's just these guys are hungry for success, and they don't want to be part of the 0-10 season. They don't want to be remembered that way. So they've been cranking it up in the weight room. I'm looking to bring in new coaches. Now that we're in November, our big national coaches convention is in January 11th in Charlotte. And almost every coach in the country goes to that, and I have a huge coaches network from all my time, basically bouncing around everywhere coaching. But, I want to bring some new coaches in here, get some fresh blood, some guys that I know, the guys that know me, know how I do things. And, if we can get that stuff going, by the time we hit New Year, I think it's a whole different ballgame this year.
Now, you were talking about, the juniors and the sophomores and some of the freshmen in the weight room. You always got to have the great coaches, but you got to have great leadership in the locker room.
Yes.
Do you have folks in the junior class and some athletes there that are stepping forward to be those leaders to help those younger players?
Yeah, and that's one thing, and I don't know how things were before I got here, but, I just know the numbers. And, in J-Bo's first year, they graduated 30-something seniors, and then they graduate 30-something seniors last year. That's 60 football players. So a lot of these guys, yes, they might be sophomores, juniors, seniors on our team last year, but they never played, so they never learned those leadership skills. So that was one thing where maybe I missed the boat on that a little bit. I just assumed because of their grade that they would be leaders. But, I've done my one-on-one interviews with all my players this week, and guys that I thought were great leaders were asking me, Coach, how do I lead? I know how to work hard, but I don't know how to lead, So having those conversations with them and getting more on a personal level and telling them how things I've done in the past as a leader and things I've done when I was a player, I think that's just going to benefit us that much this year, and having more team events. Last year I was bouncing around from rental house, trying to sell my house in Savannah, getting settled. I want to have the guys over to my house and, have parties and pizza parties and build that camaraderie as a team. It was just kind of forced last year, and this is the time to do it. From November to August 1st when we start, it's all about building this camaraderie with this team and getting them to believe in each other and play hard, and obviously cranking up our scheme a little bit more this year too.
Again, just joining us in the studios with us, head football coach John Moore. Again, as you touched on this a little while ago, but early in the season, some players quit. Some were asked to leave, if I recall. Some discipline issues. That's always the question they get from people, and they want to know, what is the culture at Wayne County High School? What are the rules that players have to abide by each and every day? Is there a line that can't be crossed? Are the players respectful to their coaches, or the coaches respectful to the players? So you as a head coach, how do you lay out those guidelines, and what are the guidelines? What are the criteria for discipline and things like that at Wayne County High School football program?
And that's something we did early on this year. We got together as a staff, and we actually got our players together in little pods at the beginning of this past season, and we talked to them, what rules do you think are fair? If you miss practice, if you miss weightlifting, if you're late to something, if you get suspended from school. And we went through and came up with a detailed list, and we stuck with a lot of the main ones, but maybe some lost sight because you're losing so many players. You get guys walking off the field, you're losing starters weekly, you got kids transferring, and you still have to put a product in the field that's competing with these state championship quality teams. So, it got a little gray this year, and that's something where, as a first-year coach in this program, I kind of took the bird's eye approach to the whole thing and just try to see what I need to fix this off season. So, I mean, all yesterday I was working on our player code of conduct. That thing's going to be posted everywhere. Every kid's going to sign it. I got here so late last year, we really didn't even get a parent meeting, So all those things they might seem minor or minute, but it's going to make the difference in this year. And when parents know the standard, and if a kid walks off the field during a game, he's done from the team. And, I think that'll make everybody accountable, coaches on down, to the standard that we're trying to raise.
And you touched on this as well. You're talking about coaching. So every year coaches come and go. Is there an evaluation process after the season where you as a head coach sit down with coaches and players, evaluate the season and what role they had? And you mentioned you're going to make some coaching changes. Yeah. So, how many changes do you think you'll be making, and how does that work? Yeah,
over the last week, I've had every coach on staff come in for meetings with me. And, and that's something I do during the process. And, the last 3 weeks of the season, when we're at practice, I'm seeing on our staff who's still coaching hard. We're 0-7 at this point. It's not looking great for the final 3 games. We got powerhouse teams coming in. Who's still coaching hard? Who's who's running their position groups? Who's doing things the right way? And it's hard on years like this because everybody needs. There's plenty of things I did wrong that I need to fix, but there's nobody harder on myself than me. And I've already made a task list of things I need to do better. I've given each coach things that they need to do better. We will make some changes. I will look to bring some new staff in. But, a lot of those guys are still coaching in the playoffs right now, whether it be in Florida or Georgia. So over the next few weeks, we'll have some people on campus and see if we can make them a fit here.
Like I said, you've been on a lot of winning programs. Like I said, you talked about throughout the course of the year, you're used to winning. Losing's tough. Kids, especially when you have a season like we had where a lot of the games were out of hand by halftime. But one thing that was noticeable was the players that were out there were always giving good effort. I mean, even in the Ware County game, the final game of the year, they were down a lot by halftime, but you never saw any give up. Any kids give up. They could just continue to battle and fight, and I think a lot of people appreciated that. So you had to be appreciative as a coach to, like I said, the players just seem to always give 110% effort.
And I feel like I have a really good relationship with all of our players. I try to have that one-on-one with them, and and that's really what I was focusing on those last few weeks. It's really easy to say, hey, we're 0-7, could end up 0-10. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on going out there and making this game really hard on them. Let's play our butts off to halftime and we can regroup at halftime and see what we need to do. And the kids never gave up, and a lot of those were young guys. So now seeing those guys in the weight room, they're hungry for that success, and they know we need to quit all the fooling around, the joking around, a lot of things that are overlooked. Our stretch lines have been more serious. We're all clapping at the same time. All the little details that people don't recognize from the outside in, we're just trying to tighten up on those right now.
How about the feeder program, the JV program, the middle school program? Yeah. That's where the future is. So how actively involved are you in that? Do you select the coaches for those teams as well, or how does that work?
That was in my exit meeting this year or my end of season meeting was we need to crank that up. I should be the one appointing our middle school staff. I should be the one that's able to put a JV staff together. We do need to work on trying to get more coaches in so that we can separate varsity and JV at practice so a lot of those guys aren't standing around. But I need to have my hands on the middle school. I need to have my hands on the rec department. I know I've talked with Coach McDonald this week about maybe eliminating the 6th grade team and making that a rec football and just focusing on the 7th and 8th. And I've already talked to some guys on my staff about moving down to the middle school level so that we can make sure that feeder program is coming up to us. And they're ready to go. When they get here, it's a well-oiled machine. Last night I was at the JV game for a little bit, and I ran into a bunch of the 8th grade football players were there. They all seem eager and hungry to join us. I'm going to try to get them with us this spring, working out with us maybe a couple times a week. And then obviously in spring football, we got some big bodies in that 8th grade. I think it will really help us, really talented kids. So it's really encouraging for me to see that and then see how eager they were to start working with me and start working with our staff.
How about the numbers? Said like at the end of the season, the numbers were way down.
Yeah.
I said normally people see 100 kids, dressed out for the as Lynn Hoss told me years ago, it's about Jimmys and Joes. You got to have players. So how do you recruit those kids? Like I said, I tell people all the time, kids got so much more nowadays than they had years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, most kids have vehicles. Most kids have,
Yeah.
they've got cell phones. They got other interests. So how do you get kids? I said it's hard to get kids to buy into
Yeah.
after they see the season we just had. So how do you walk the hallways and get people involved in the program?
You got to sell like a new era, a new beginning, and I think we've done that. And if you look at the numbers last year, a lot of it was either discipline issues or kids quitting, whatever. But we started with about probably 70, and then we finished with about 46, 47. A lot of those too, like our last JV game was at our second bye, so a lot of our JV guys, that were just kind of standing around. I said, look, why don't you guys go focus on your academics, go focus on maybe your next sport. We're going to focus here on our region play. So when you see those numbers dip towards the end of the year, a lot of those kids were just separated JV varsity, and we kept the guys we needed to focus at practice so we could have great intentional practices out there. And, I think right now we have about 35 in removing our seniors from our weight class. And then there's other kids that are in basketball, baseball, lift groups. But this spring, we're going to look to have 50 to 55 kids, whether recruiting the hallways, and then we're going to get this giant 8th grade class. So I think we'll be up in the, 70 to 80 range when it's all said and done. But I think what we do now and making these off-season workouts so hard that if you can stick it through this, when you get to season, you're not going to be willing to quit as much, because you're already going through the grunt work. You've already put the time in. Now it's just going to see, what we can do on the field.
As we mentioned, we're stuck in this region for one more season, but then it's going to be realigned again. There's all kinds of GHSA discussion about how they're going to do it, but has discussions of that already discussed about where we're headed and what kind of region we can get in and get away from these people like Perry and Warner Robins and all those long trips?
Yeah, I know I've brought it up to several people, including our board, and about what we can do as far as the charter school and lowering our numbers so that maybe we're in a 3A. I don't know what happened before I got here and why we're in this region or why we have this schedule, but I can tell you this: as long as I'm here, I'm going to do everything I can to get us playing like competition. And we'll see how the chips fall, after next season. But, I look for us to be much improved next season. We got to fix some of the holes that we have, whether it be roster, coaching staff, everything. Everything's getting analyzed. It's under a microscope now. So, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to try to fix that between now and next year this time. And then we'll have a full other off season to work on our region, work on our schedule, and get these boys in an advantageous situation.
I was reading something a couple of months ago about what the Georgia High School Association is looking at to redo things. Not, of course, next year is all taken care of. The year after that, that not only are they going to take a look at the numbers, but they're also going to take a look at the competitiveness of each football program. Yeah. It may put people together that you got the top guys playing the top guys, and you have the middle guys playing the middle guys, and the lower ones playing the lower guys. Have you heard that?
I have heard that.
In terms of victories, okay?
Yeah, and you never really know with the GHSA. They've had plans come out every year, and it just seems like people get better at cheating the rules and figuring out a way to put themselves in a good situation. I'm not quite worried about that right now. I know the region that we were stuck in for the next 365 days.
But I just want to make sure I read correctly on that.
They
are looking at something like that. Is that right?
They are looking at it. I hope they do something like that. I think that would be best for all programs. But, we still have the same season and schedule in front of us, and
right.
That's what we're focused on. And we know what we're up against now. We know what kind of talent those teams have and what we're going to have to do to try to make ourselves more successful versus them.
And what about facilities? I heard the board members, they met Tuesday. They talked about their capital outlay projects, and Tony Williams said she's going to make a proposal and show them what all involved and what the cost analysis. But I understand, and they threw out weight room. So is there a discussion of a new weight room being discussed?
Yeah.
Is that a possibility? Do they have money to do that? Or
it's been brought up to me. I've been asked about my plans for the inside of it and like what we can do to to maximize space. So those conversations are they feels good to be having them, and hopefully we can start seeing some bricks laid and seeing some progress in that department. I do think Tony's doing a great job as far as pushing the envelope on that stuff, and it'll just be a waiting game to see kind of how it sorts out.
Where would it be built?
They're talking about building it on the what is that, the west side of the gym, in that space, right?
Okay.
In between the gym and the track.
All right.
Leading out of the gym. I mean, the renderings I saw and talked about was about a 10,000 square foot space. So, there's colleges that don't have that. So that's pretty promising.
Nice to have a weight room that compares to the people that we play against.
Yeah, and the kids see that. They see an investment in them. And, right now, our weight room is serviceable. Yes, you can still win games with the weight room we have. But when you walk into a 10,000 square foot space, it's saying that the community cares about football and other sports.
Not only football. Today, everybody's lifting. Even the girls' sports programs are lifting.
Yeah, it's not limited to football, but it's just sports in general. It's committed, and it's showing that the community's involved, and that's what we need. These kids need to see stuff. I mean, a lot of our buildings are outdated. Stadiums outdated. We need to fix a lot of problems. But I think getting that weight room started, where those kids use that weight room every single day. A stadium for football they use 10 times a year max. So the weight room is the first piece of it, and then hopefully the rest follow.
Okay.
Years ago, you used to see kids go from the football field to the basketball court, the baseball field, 3-sport athletes. You don't see that very often. So how's your working relationship with the other coaches, trying to get those athletes that are playing basketball, playing baseball, get them involved in the program as well? How do you do that?
And I think it's great actually right now. I mean, Jamie Knight is doing a phenomenal job. I think he just recruited Dawson Sykes to play some basketball this week, and that was encouraged. I know he's been a wrestler and he's been trying to cut his weight, but now he wants to go play basketball so he can just get big in the weight room. That's just one example. Now with Dawson playing, do some of those basketball kids say, hey man, I really want to come play football. And obviously Coach Mack, those baseball kids are coming in second block as I'm finishing up football weights first block. And, I'm talking to some of the bigger kids like, you played football before, why don't you come back out? And I think just starting those conversations and building those relationships now so that when baseball's over, hey man, come on out. Let's, you finished your season, you did that. Let's go try this out. And if we can get all our kids, playing 2 or 3 sports, it's just going to make the school better. It's going to make our athletic program better. So, there really isn't any disadvantage to trying to do that.
I'm sure the banquet date's going to come up after the first of the year, but, I want to just end on talking about the seniors that stuck with you. Like I said, they've had a tough go of it. Like you mentioned, 3 head coaches in 4 years, but, like I said, some quit, some didn't hang around, but the ones that did, just talk about how special that senior class was, and I'm sure they'll be recognized and honored at the banquet when you have it.
Yeah, we still haven't nailed down a date for that, and it's probably going to be in, mid to late January. But yeah, I mean, the seniors, that was as rough a year as you can have for them, with their teammates, their friends, their peers, some walking off and then them sticking it through and then going through a losing season, and fighting till the very end. I can't thank them enough for that. And they kind of paved the way for this next class because even though things didn't end up the way they wanted, it gave them a sight of what we want to change, with some of these young kids and, stepping up in some of these leadership roles. And, they don't want to be remembered as an 0-10 football team. So, unfortunately for them, it had to happen like that. And, I wish it could have been different. But, I think they'll still remember that this is where we made the shift and the change in the program, and they were still part of that.
Well, Coach, again, we appreciate you coming in. I said, wish you nothing but the best of luck. I said it was a tough year, but better days are ahead. And I said we've been through these dips and valleys before, but we've always found a way to get it back on the right track. So, like I said, it's all about continuity, and we mentioned that all season long. You look at the programs that are winning consistently, they've got continuity in the coaching staff and the coach. I mean, so it's hard to change coaches every 2-3 years and build a winning program. So hopefully you're here for the long haul. Glad to know you're going to be here next year. Yeah. Hopefully we dispelled the rumor mill today. So, again, it's all about getting kids out, encouraging kids. And like I said, if you see people, you see kids around town, encourage them to play football, get involved. One thing I want to end on is stress that that's where the money is made through the athletic program, the football program. If people aren't buying tickets and in the seats in JC Stadium, there's no money in the program. I mean, that's the revenue money generating sports. So you got to buy tickets, support the program, and that helps all the other sports as well. So
got to win games to fill those seats. So that'll be my job. Try to figure out a way to put some more points up next year, make these things competitive. And like you said with the coaching thing, I mean, I looked at the last 10 to 15 years, and the average coach has been here 2 years. I mean, you can't build a program that way. And I said that in my opening interview. And I'm glad that they're looking past this year and giving me, a good shot to get this thing fixed next year, because I think we will. And then you'll start seeing progress every year from there on out.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting out of this region, that's for sure. I don't like those trips to Perry, but the good news is we made both those trips, so this next year they got to come our way, so at least we don't have those long road trips. But I don't understand the GHSA. I just don't get them, because it's not just football. I mean, football on Friday night's one thing, but basketball team and volleyball and things like that. You
Baseball,
go to Perry,
all of
I mean, you get home at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, then you expect those kids to go back to school. I mean, they say they care about kids, but do they really? I mean, it's all about money.
Yeah, and I would love to see us end up in that region with Long and Liberty and some of the Savannah public schools, and
Have a
easy
chance
trip
to
right up to
compete,
Savannah
right?
and compete. And I was familiar with that. Was the region I was in up in Savannah, and I know that this team could compete in that region, and we'll see what happens. But
Right. Well, nothing but the best of luck, and again, appreciate the time throughout the season. It was fun. So again, wishing nothing but the best.
thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach Morin. All right, head football coach John Morin, our special guest this morning on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO, brought to you by the Service Department at GNS Auto Sales, by First Southern Bank, Murphy Builder Supply, and by O.C. Welch Ford in Hardyville.